Steve Cooper banishes Joe Lolley to the under-23s via text message. Welcome to your Forest News. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Joe Lolley, one of my favourite players over the last 5 to 10 years at Forest. It was amazing what he did for us, and the treatment handed out to him by Steve Cooper, I'm sorry, just doesn't sit well with me at all. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And if you haven't done so already, please take a quick second to download SofaScore. It's completely free. This is the best app on the planet for football. It has all your player stats. It has notifications for everything you need to know about Nottingham Forest. And if you go and download it, let me know in the comments down below, how many times did Joe Lolley play for Nottingham Forest? You can find all that out on SofaScore. Okay, speaking of Joe Lolley, let's get into this and let me run you through exactly what's happened, because it has angered me. So not Steve Cooper, Joe Lolley was on a podcast, Football Friends with Ben and Steph, where he was talking about his time in Australia, how he ended up getting there, a bit about his career and everything. It's actually a really good listen. If you want to go and check that out, you can check it out on Spotify and the other podcasty places. But anyway, the bit that interested us as Forest fans was when they asked him about how did his time at Nottingham Forest come to an end. And it's not pleasant at all. Basically what happened, Lolley was still there after we got promoted. He even went out to the Spanish camp where Forest trained for a week. And it was when he returned that he was banished by Steve Cooper. And the thing that I can't stand is that he was banished by text and told you can't train with the first team. You're not allowed in the first team facilities. Off you go, son, to the under-23s. And that was all via text message. So let me read you the quote that's come out from Joe Lolley. If you want the full quote, we've got it all on our social media. So make sure you're following on Twitter or X, and on Instagram, it's @officialFFTV. But here's the backstory to it. So Lolley says, I had just come back from pre-season for a week in Spain. I got back the next day and he, as in Steve Cooper, just texted me and said, you're in the under-23s. You're not allowed in the first team building. Considering I'd been there for 5 years and played 150 games, to not come up to me or to not ring me or to not speak to me in person. You know what it's like in football. These things are strange. How you know? It was a weird line he said there. It was really disappointing how it ended at Nottingham Forest. Then he goes on to say, let me give you a couple more quotes because it's really not nice whatsoever. Let me just quickly find it. Suddenly I wasn't allowed to be in the first team building. It was weird. I was just training with 15 and 16-year-olds 3 times a week just to keep fit. And just because they wanted to force me out, it was a shame how they treated me in the end. If they had just said, you are free to go, we would like you to leave and keep training with us until you find a new club, that would have been football. I'd have been, yeah, no problem. It was a pretty brutal way to end. And I have to say, I tend to agree with Lolley. Look, yeah, I do have some biases towards Lolley. I think he was brilliant. But I also think there's a way to treat players. And this is not how to do it. Look, Joe Lolley's been a great servant for Nottingham Forest. He understands how football works. But the fact that he got it by text message does not sit right with me. Can you imagine if you, in your normal day job, I mean, because remember, this is a job for Joe Lolley, got up in the morning, found a text message from your boss saying, don't come in today, we don't want you anymore. End of. It's just pathetic. It really is. So, shout out to Joe Lolley for talking out about it. But how do you guys feel about this one? And this really moves us on to the next topic, which is about the general treatment of players at Nottingham Forest under the Cooper regime. We've seen so many clips about Cooper and how he banded the squad together, how everyone was in unison, everyone was happy, all the usual stuff. I mean, we've seen clips like this.
That is not what this football club is. When people make big errors, we don't kill people, we get behind them.
And is that just face talk? In my opinion, 100%. There are so many things that were going on behind the scenes under Cooper's regime that you guys don't know about, that I do know about, that changed my opinion of him like that. But that's for another day. Now, if we have a look at the bomb squad created by Cooper, now I'm not saying all these players were banished, but there was a lot. You have a look at Worrell, McKenna, Bardet, you got Lolley, you got Santos, Scarpa, Shelvey, Omar Richards, Bowler, Dennis, O'Brien, Biancone. That's a huge list already in itself. And we're not talking over a span of 5 years. This is over a span of 18 months in the Premier League. And it's just not on. Now, I don't like half those players, or I don't think half those players were good enough to play at Nottingham Forest. I got no problem with those being cut, moved on, and everything else. This isn't a question of ability. This is a question of respect. And there's a way to do it. As Joe Lolley said, had he been spoken to, had he been told it was time to move on, you're no longer in our plans, they are big boys. They can handle that kind of truth. But when you see this happen to Joe Lolley, when you see Worrell banished for an argument with Steve Cooper, when you see Shelvey bombed out for an argument with Steve Cooper, when you see McKenna pushed out as well into the under-23s, we don't know why that one is exactly, but the track record is showing. When you see Steve Cooper reacting to players that he didn't want by almost ignoring them, the likes of Bardet, the likes of Scarpa, the likes of Biancone, the likes of Dennis, all these types of players. And then O'Brien, because he had a falling out with another player and Cooper sided allegedly with the other player and he ended up getting banished off. So there's so many things that just make up what is becoming an absolute circus at Nottingham Forest. Now, I'm not bashing Steve Cooper here. He can do what he wants at the end of the day. Who am I to tell him how to behave? But it's the double standards when certain things are going on behind the scenes. And then you're saying certain things like we just showed you what he said about Turner. And then in the end, he goes and bombs him out the next game anyway, which was the right thing to do. But bloody hell, come on, man. It's just weird. So this is the update on it. I want to know your guys' thoughts on it. Is this a culture that's been consistently at Forest for many years before Cooper and will continue for many years after? There are plenty of older stories as well. This isn't just all on Cooper. Or is this just a general thing that happens in football? And am I too much of a I don't know, looking for that utopia where people get on or people can just say straight out how they are feeling and everyone is grown up about it? I don't know. Get your thoughts in down below. I'm looking forward to reading all your comments. Can I say as well, I read every single one of your comments. Thank you to everyone who comments down below. As you can imagine, time is very tight, so I will try and reply as much as we can to those comments, but we do appreciate it, and your thoughts are hugely, hugely important to us. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new, and go check out the match preview for West Ham, because I'm nervous about that one. If you haven't seen it already, come on you Reds.